Welcome to my visual existentialism on his dark materials, Malice. And wow, did this episode really leave a lot for there to be resolved in the last episode, of which I'm not even going to try and pronounce. And if you would be so kind as to resolve to like this video. Yep, okay. First of all, this episode finally confirmed the theory from the last episode of Adam and Eve being a really big thing. How? Well, it had the Magisterium say that Lyra is the mother of all sin, which means Eve. To further emphasize this, the Magisterium was saying that this is the prophecy that the witches had also spoken of and had known about. And speaking of which, the witches also told Will that he has to protect Lyra. Very similar to the way that Lee Scoresby and Joffrey have been kind of functioning, where Joffrey is like, yeah, we have to go tell the subtle knife bearer what his responsibilities are. And then Scoresby is like, well, make sure that he's also protecting Lyra. Same thing that the witches are telling Will. Which, of course, brings me to my next point. So if Will and Lyra are Adam and Eve, and Joffrey is Will's father, then... Now, okay, I know it seems a little bit weird, but he's kind of a weird dude in general, right? He can control the weather. Whenever he wants something to happen, he wills it into existence as well. Just saying, he's going to tell us a lot. He's going to do a lot of exposition in that next episode. But even if he's not, he does make it a point in this episode to really bring about the fact that he is a human, and he does quickly mention that in his world you can't see demons, which goes back to the previous rant that Boreal was making in the previous episode about how in that world you couldn't really see their demons because they didn't have any, and that they probably have no souls because of that. Well, it just turns out you can't see it, but I don't know. That seems a little bit... I don't know. Maybe seems a little bit contrived. Maybe Joffrey is more shaman-like and trying to be really happy. But in any which case, Boreal. I thought he was just going to go sleepy time for a little bit so Marissa could get away. I didn't think he was going to go sleepy time forever. It appears that they kind of really brought back that same idea that they set up in that last episode where Marissa always kind of felt like she had to hide herself. I guess she now knew that since she was killing Boreal, she was going to be whoever she normally would be. She didn't have to hide herself anymore. And she really, really presented that. She was smart. She was confident. She was cunning. She was just completely a different person than the way that she was presenting herself usually and through the Magisterium. And wow. The way that she controlled those specters, wow. I mean, I think that whole scene where she shut off the part that makes her human was kind of showing that she was ready to do anything, including kill Boreal. That was just so intense. But then she does appear to be affected when Lyra's honey badger that last episode attacked her golden monkey. So does it seem that maybe she does have a more human side, or she can be affected by Lyra because she's important to her? Maybe. I mean, it's very clear that Miss Coulter loves Lyra. And I know I keep changing between Miss Coulter and Marissa, but I think it's whether I'm referring to Marissa in another way or Miss Coulter, or who knows, maybe that the way that they mention her is really a part of that dual personality that they really seem to be driving home with Marissa Coulter. And I think that they did a really good job here of presenting what her experimental theology kind of senses were. She had a thought experiment. Okay, cool. Maybe we can do this when they appear. And she went and did it. Lo and behold, like I said, very smart, very clever, very, very just crap. Yes. So every single time that Mary was shown, she was in the sun, and it really just seemed kind of to be this glow and halo around her, almost, like if she was protected, which she totally was. We saw this twice. The first one was when she was introduced. The Tower of Angels, one of the angels was literally to her right, and she was there looking at it. And as she was trying to find out what to read, she ended up reading that pretty soon you'll be steered in the right direction, as the camera then cuts up to the Tower of Angels. And then the second time that we see Mary again being protected by the angels, it's just kind of like appeared almost out of thin air. And the small little blonde girl, whose name I can't remember, she was eating one of the red berries that was there as they were looking at her and saw this angel. And then immediately afterwards, it's a scene where Mary is in front of that tree right before she talks to the kids. So is this kind of like she is giving knowledge to the children? Is this the kind of thing that they're going for? Maybe that's why she's so pure. Maybe that's why the angels protect her. And to go back with that whole the sun-kissed thing every time that they presented her, was it a mention to the stories that we know? Lucifer, the light bringer, the literal translation of the name. Is she bringing light to all these people and all these worlds? Speaking of the angels and everything else, you never see Marissa in sight with any of the angels in this episode, even though she is in front of the Tower of Angels. And the witches seem to recognize the angels, but maybe not the specters. And it appears that Azrael has something to do with the angels, and then Marissa Coulter has something to do with the specters, and the specters take your soul, the angels don't. Joffrey is also trying to get to Azrael, and the witches are also trying to get to Azrael. So are they kind of teaming it up like good and evil with Marissa and Azrael? I think we'll really start to find this out in the next episode. But it seems like they're combining a lot of these ideas to really, really have it show up in the end. And I do think that there is something about Azrael and Marissa that we don't quite know yet that's going to really, really make them even more central in the story than we could imagine. And finally, the last thing in this episode was Will's hand being infected. Now, I do think that maybe it has to do with the fact that he is yet to put the knife in his right hand. And I think the moment that he does, it's going to stop being infected. It's almost as if though it's separated from his soul. Very similar to maybe how like demons getting separated from their human kind of causes them damage. And I think that that's maybe what's causing Will damage. But I don't know, maybe it's overemphasis on the right hand and me looking too much into it. But I do think that we're going to see something with that soon. The witches even said it this episode, magic counters magic. So maybe this being in the right hand will counter that magic. I don't know, maybe. I'm excited to see that. Honestly, this episode was so much, and I think that after tomorrow's episode, going back and looking into what the meanings were in this episode is really, really going to become super obvious. I think that this show is probably one of the best shows I've seen this year. It's on the same level as Dark, which is one of my favorite shows. Oh, just 3 whole beautiful series, and I think that this show is going to be very much on that same level. So if you got this far, thank you. Please comment and like down below, and let me know what you thought of this episode. Also, sorry about the echo. I'm in the middle of moving right now, and it's a whole thing. So there's probably going to be an echo in the next video too. I'm figuring out a lot of things right now. It's a whole mess. But thank you so much for sticking to the end of this video, and more will be coming soon. Thank you. Till next time.